Las Vegas spent much of the 1990s trying to attract families by transforming the area into a kid-friendly mecca. With gambling revenue declining, the city decided to make Vegas a spectacular experience destination for the whole family. While hotels on the Strip were demolished or rebuilt, one of the biggest new hotels, the MGM Grand, would spend $100 million to add a theme park next door, named the MGM Grand Adventure. Hotels would incorporate elaborate themed areas and rides to try and draw people in. The downtown Las Vegas core would become a distant, second destination to the extravagant offerings on the Strip. With the Strip now taking 80% of the Las Vegas market, the downtown was becoming a ghost town. The concept that was planned would lead the way for a fully fledged, out-of-this-world attraction that would boldly go where no one had gone before.
You're invited to engage your senses, transport your spirit, and boldly go where no one has gone before. The 24th century is coming to the Las Vegas Hilton. Star Trek: The Experience.
In 1992, with downtown Las Vegas becoming neglected, a number of different ideas were considered to try and revitalize the area. A competition invited ideas, and they wanted something that would become an attraction of such magnitude it would draw people away from the Strip, along with becoming a destination attraction that would establish the downtown core as the center of action in Vegas. The other requirement was that it would not be a hotel or casino, as the other hotels and the casino in the area were going to be paying for this attraction, hoping to bring people to their business. Two concepts reached the finals. One was the Fremont Experience, the other was the Starship Enterprise. The idea was spearheaded by Gary Goddard and his team of designers at Landmark. Gary Goddard created a concept so epic it would fire the imagination of people around the world. With the near impossible task of bringing people from the Strip, it had to be something so exciting that it had no equal. It would be a full-scale Starship Enterprise at the end of the street. The Starship Enterprise was an icon of the beloved science fiction franchise Star Trek. Together, Goddard with lead designer Chuck Cancilla, along with Landmark, learned everything they could about the USS Enterprise. Its actual size and dimensions, how it would potentially land on a planet, and how it could be created in Vegas. Ken Ball, former head of engineering at Disney's Maypo, was brought on to figure out how to engineer and support the huge starship. The solution would be to create a dry dock style structure to support the disk section. Here you can see a relative sizing of how large the Starship Enterprise would be compared to other world monuments. Inside the ship was to be a full tour complete with key rooms, chambers, desks and corridors seen on the screen. A dining area for the ship's crew where you could dine in Starfleet comfort and much more. A high-speed travelator that would take you from deck to deck was also planned. Sadly, this is one voyage the Enterprise would never take. The design and planning was so far along that a licensing contract had been negotiated with Paramount Studios. It was estimated to cost $150 million to build in 1992. Everything was ready to go. Excitement was high and the world-class iconic project was set to go ahead. The Starship Enterprise was the choice of the committee to be built. Paramount Licensing and president of the studio loved the idea, but the final decision came down to just one man, Stanley Jaffe, the studio's CEO. Everything that had been planned was cultivated at this one final meeting. If approved by the CEO, the project would be announced within the week. Stanley Jaffe said that while the project sounded exciting, it would not be a great idea for Paramount. He was concerned that if it was not a success, it would be there forever. The 5 months of work and the grand idea to build a full-scale Starship Enterprise was destroyed instantly. The city awarded the competition to the number 2 concept, the Fremont Experience. While the project had much less imagination and was definitely less iconic, it did improve the downtown area for a few years, though I expect not nearly as much as a full-scale Starship Enterprise would have. Goddard would have multiple plans for Vegas never come to be over the next few years, including an animatronic dragon that would rise from behind a man-made mountain and set a lagoon ablaze to increase the street presence of the Excalibur Resort. However, just like how Star Trek has seen multiple different versions over the years, a smaller Star Trek attraction would eventually prosper, but I guess not live long.
You will regret defying me! For 30 years, you've sat and watched.
Red alert.
Now, it's your turn to enter the 24th century.
Evacuate to shuttle bay. Evacuate to shuttle bay.
Star Trek The Experience at the Las Vegas Hilton. This time, it's real.
Once again, Gary Goddard and Landmark was at the center of its creation, the Star Trek Experience. Hilton Hotels Corporation and Paramount Parks would work together to bring the world of Star Trek to life within the Las Vegas Hilton. Originally announced in early 1995 and set to open in December 1996 to coincide with the 30th anniversary of Star Trek, the experience aimed to offer a new realm of technologically advanced immersion for visitors. Occupying 50,000 square feet in the North Tower of the Las Vegas Hilton, the experience was planned to be fully interactive, with each visitor assuming the identity of a Starfleet or alien crew member, where they will participate as the character in the extraordinary and imaginative world of Star Trek. Sounds slightly familiar. Within would be planned the ultimate simulator ride surpassing anything seen before, virtual reality, unique collectible Star Trek merchandise, an upscale 24th century themed dining experience, and much more. Paramount at the time were running multiple successful theme parks, but this would be their first development for them outside of a park. Built by the Landmark Group, the experience was delayed, taking 3 years to build with help from Star Trek producer Rick Berman. Some changes, though, were made from the original concept and story.
It's been in the making for nearly 3 years, but now the Las Vegas Hilton is ready to launch its newest attraction.
And it's an experience that's out of this world. New tonight, Star Trek The Experience opens to the public this Sunday.
Welcome, humans! This is Star Trek The Experience. Live the glory!
Opening in January 1998, 3,000 invited guests watched as fireworks and a giant curtain drop revealed 20 Star Trek characters inviting guests in. Costing $9.95 to enter on opening day, running daily from 11 AM to 11 PM, the experience could be found at the back of the Space Quest Casino, which was built to resemble floating through space with 3 10 by 24 foot space windows creating the illusion within the Hilton. After purchasing their tickets, guests entered the Star Trek timeline History of the Future, where they can read the history spanning centuries, 4 Star Trek TV series, and 8 movies. A Smithsonian-like display of Star Trek weapons, clothes, artifacts, and memorabilia lined the passage, and fully dressed Borg, Romulan, Klingon, Vulcan, and other races' mannequins greet guests before the interactive experience transporting you to the 24th century began. The end of this section served as the line for the Star Trek Experience, dubbed the Voyage through Space. Visitors entered a small room where a TV would display scenes from several Star Trek films. Hosts directed attention to a safety demo for the shuttlecraft simulator ride.
Before you board the shuttlecraft, let's go over a few important safety instructions. Food and beverages are not allowed on the shuttlecraft. You should not board if you are pregnant, have a heart condition, or suffer from back or neck trouble. You must be at least 42 inches tall to board the vehicle. Once you have boarded the shuttlecraft, please move to the farthest seat so you can make room for the people behind you.
The safety demo made it sound like just a normal simulator experience. Shortly after, the lights would go out with the classic transporter sound effects, and a rush of cold air surprised guests. When the lights returned, the group had been beamed up aboard the Enterprise D on a transporter pad as seen in Star Trek The Next Generation. The effect was incredibly impressive. It worked by having the whole room minus the floor lift straight up into the air out of sight. Then the transporter room ceiling would slide in above you. The air you felt was actually from the motion of the walls swinging above, and wasn't intended but was an added bonus for the effect.
In just a moment, you're going to see what actually happens on the other side of the door when we fly the transporter room. There's Anita waiting, and we go dark. You hear the sound effects. We do nothing for a while.
Lighting would then illuminate the floor and fiber optic cables replicated the beam up light effect. On the transportation pad, a uniformed Starfleet officer would lead the group away for instruction, explaining that you had been beamed aboard the Starship Enterprise and to the future, before they led you down to the bridge, walking through a typical Starship corridor. The bridge was a near identical replica of the one used on screen. Multiple were built for increased capacity. Commander Riker would appear on screen, explaining that Captain Picard had disappeared the moment the group had been beamed aboard.
I'm Commander Will Riker of the USS Enterprise. There isn't much time, so I'll get right to the point. You've all been abducted from the 20th century by a hostile group of aliens known as Klingons. Lieutenant Edwards.
Sir?
Give them a look at what's behind us.
Aye, sir. Aft view on screen.
Those ships are under the command of a Klingon captain named Korath. Korath's plan was to kidnap an ancestor of Picard so that the captain would never be born.
And thus one member of the group must be Picard's ancestor. Various actors portraying crew could be seen on the bridge among guests.
There's no point in running, Enterprise. Give me Picard's ancestor, and the others can return to the past.
Forget it, Korath. These people are under my protection. Every one of them.
Fool! You will regret defying me!
A Klingon named Korath had used a time rift to abduct Picard's ancestor and erase him from the timeline. Starfleet intelligence dispatched the Enterprise to intercept the transporter beam and rescue the entire group. Visitors are then directed to board a shuttlecraft with Geordi LaForge to escape the temporal rift and return to their original time. To get there, you would enter a turbolift. While inside, the Klingons would begin attacking the Enterprise. Due to a malfunction, the turbolift entered a simulated freefall through the use of lighting and special effects and small jolts.
Got it! That was a close call. Is everyone sure they're all right? All right. Are you all right?
Is everyone all right here?
Just a little rattled.
Listen, everyone, our power is out on this deck. We should have it back online momentarily. In the meantime, stay together. Follow me right this way, everyone. I need to get you down airlock number 1. Right this way. We are in a red alert situation.
The group were then led through the starship to board the 27-seat shuttlecraft.
Before we put you aboard the Goddard, I'm going to show you parts of the standard safety briefing for Starfleet transport shuttles. I'm going to skip ahead to the loading procedure. Sorry, wrong language mode.
And watch your step.
Here we go.
When you enter the cabin, move toward the far side before sitting down.
The shuttle ride will begin by exiting the Enterprise and entering a battle with the Klingon vessels. The shuttle would then go into warp and dropped out in the rings of a planet where they were instructed to find and destroy a cloaking generator. After some dogfights, the shuttle returned through the temporal rift to present-day Las Vegas. A Klingon ship had followed and locked a tractor beam on the shuttle, but luckily, you had some backup.
This is the place.
Commander!
Tractor beam, hold off.
It's over, humans. The take-off. Today will take time. You say so, Korath.
The original script of guests being crew on Starfleet from Landmark was rejected and replaced by Star Trek series writer Renee Echevarria and Kenneth Biller, with guests now being tourists instead. Renee had never been on a motion ride before and was unsure how to write for one, so to get inspiration they took a trip to Disneyland to ride Star Tours. The Klingon simulator was created by McFadden Systems, who also created Batman Adventure the Ride, and later would be absorbed by iWorks Entertainment and Simex. Unlike Star Tours, this ride had the screen outside of the vehicle with the front open. The movie shown was created by Rhythm and Hughes Studios. The shuttle would land at the Hilton Hotel and the ride section ended right next to the motion simulators the visitors were supposed to enter at the start of the experience, where they eventually exited into the Deep Space Nine promenade. This area featured gift shops with something for everyone, styled after the promenade from the TV show, with the Admiral collection selling real props such as a Klingon uniform for $12,000. Zek's Grand Emporium sold Star Trek merchandise, and exclusive merch was sold at Moogie's Trading Post.
Let's not forget the 214th rule of acquisition. Never begin a business negotiation on an empty stomach.
A restaurant loosely modelled on Quark's bar and grill from the show could be found here, with food and drink with Star Trek names that will be served by 24th century aliens. Klingons and Ferengi walked around to give recommendations, promising to fill the appetite the size of a wormhole.
We are here to do a little culture trade, show the humans what we are and learn what the humans of this time frame are. You humans are different in the future.
Offerings included Journey to Basil Pasta, The Wrap of Khan, Cheeseburger, and would end with The Power of the Prophets or The Final Frontier. Drinks included James T. Kirk, Deep Space Wine, and Vulcan Nerve Punch, or a specially brewed blue drink called the Romulan Ale. The attraction was met with a hugely popular response from fans and non-fans alike for the experience, staying mostly the same until a large addition would come in 2004. The original experience was renamed to the Klingon Encounter, and a second multi-million mission was added, replacing some of the bridge sets.
Brace for impact.
Fire quantum torpedo.
The Borg have entered the facility.
Resistance is futile.
Borg Invasion 4D.
While the Klingon Encounter will be based on the Next Generation, this one will be based upon Voyager. Unlike the previous experience, this was not set on the Voyager ship, or even a set fans were familiar with, but one created just for this experience. Opening in March 2004, it was developed by Paramount Parks, working closely with Rick Berman Productions, Viacom, and a number of Star Trek consultants. Once again lasting 22 minutes and holding a larger 48 people. The experience began straight away in a briefing room aboard the Starfleet Science Research Facility station, again filled with live actors. The officer introduced on screen the Doctor from USS Voyager. The group had been selected to undergo medical testing because some of the members were immune to Borg nanotechnology.
There's a real chance of developing a biological defense against the deadliest enemy Starfleet has ever faced. All thanks to you. And, of course, me. None of this would be possible without my tireless dedication and unique vision.
Base command to Doctor. Please respond.
What is it? I'm preparing the test subjects.
We're picking up an unidentified vessel approaching the station at high warp, and they're not responding to hails. We're going to yellow alert status. Doctor, we're suspending the test until we know more about the approaching vessel.
It was a full-size Borg cube. The ground shook underneath as phasers blasted the ship. The lights went dark, and then a security officer would lead the group to the next room where Borg would approach.
I see it! It's too late! They're taking over the station!
Yes, sir?
Borg would be played by actors in full costume throughout, really making you feel like the threat of assimilation could be possible.
We'll get everyone out of here safely. Move all the way down to this end of the road before you take your seat, and no empty seats between you. We have got to get everyone on board. And Stevens, is that everyone?
That's everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in a red alert situation commencing with immediate evacuation procedures.
Entering the holding area of an escape vessel, you picked up 3D glasses and sat down. The adventure continued in a space battle with the Borg Queen via a 3D movie, with corresponding physical effects including water, vapor, wind, and being stabbed by a Borg probe, hence the 4D title. The shuttle took off from the station but was pulled inside the Borg cube. Effects would blow the front of the shuttle open and cybernetic lifeforms approach, scanning the ship.
Resist the Queen! I don't have much time before the Queen attacks you. I've projected my program into the collective mind. I'm not really here.
While the original adventure made great effort to make you feel like you were being transported to a far-off adventure, no such effort was added to Borg Invasion, but it was still a thrilling and a convincing experience. A short-lived version of the encounter opened in Germany at the Space Center Bremen, but closed shortly after due to low attendance. The script this time was penned by Star Trek veteran Voyager writer Lisa Klink, and was the first Star Trek production to be shot digitally, as well as the first all-digital motion picture to incorporate live action and animation within a 3D cinema environment.
Savor your victory! We will meet again!
We did it! What a remarkable encounter! Oh, the papers I'll be able to publish. Of course, I'll need several weeks with all of you back at Copernicus for observation.
The attraction was filled to the brim by a rotating cast of actors that really took the experience to the next level. Many actors were huge fans of the series and made the experience. Crew members' roles were varied and rotated, ranging from serious Vulcans to members of the Borg, each with a name and backstory. Characters not only featured in the adventures, but also roamed the floor interacting with guests, each improvising carefully curated backstories. Each actor offered a personal touch to the experience to really turn the Star Trek experience into something special. Over the years, it was home to weddings, private parties, and many, many happy fans.
We trust you have enjoyed yourself. You will come back again. Kabla! And return soon!
In May 2008, 10 years after opening, it was reported that the Star Trek experience was in doubt due to declining attendance. In 2005, CBS and Viacom split into two companies, with Paramount Parks going to CBS. They had no wish to run theme parks and put them up for sale straight away. Paramount Parks had been purchased by Cedar Fair in 2006. 2 years later, in 2008, it was officially announced that the Star Trek experience would be closing on the 1st of September 2008. No agreements were reached between the various parties needed to keep the attraction open. The company had to completely vacate the space at the Hilton by the 31st of December the same year. They stated they were exploring several possibilities to keep the experience running, possibly at another location. A special closing ceremony was held on the closing day, presented in the tradition of a naval decommissioning ceremony.
Please give your unbridled thanks to the heroic crew of Star Trek The Experience.
Each member of staff were introduced, ending with April Heber, the longest serving cast member of the Star Trek Experience, who was given the United Federation of Planets banner to protect.
For 10 years, this banner, bearing the seal of the United Federation of Planets, has stood watch over this facility. In observance of maritime tradition, as our longest serving crew member, you are entrusted with its safekeeping.
Ched Boutte, operations manager of Star Trek The Experience, gave the final speech. The last words that were spoken, live long and prosper. After 10 years, the experience was no more. The screen props were shipped back to Hollywood for storage. A possible deal was planned with the developers of the Neonopolis Mall to move the attraction there, with it being announced to open in 2009. Despite the announced deal, many of the remaining props were sold at a warehouse sale in 2010, including signs, furniture, and much more. Anything remaining unsold at the end was destroyed. CBS released a statement that the licensee was unable to meet the terms of the license for the attraction and the agreement was terminated. Throughout the years, many rumors that it would return have circulated, but as of today, this was the final voyage of Star Trek The Experience. While Gary Goddard's full-size Enterprise never came to be, the cut-down version was still something special. Star Trek The Experience was vastly ahead of its time, offering the perfect adventure for fans of the series, beaming you directly into it. While you shouldn't really compare Star Trek with Star Wars, I can't help but think of Rise of the Resistance and Galaxy's Edge when talking about this experience. An immersive 20-something sci-fi adventure where you are transported to a ship by an intercepting tractor beam, opening into a highly detailed, recreated scene full of actors, or in Rise's case, animatronics, before having to escape on a simulated mission to exit back to the planet you arrived from. 2 attractions within, and a bar or restaurant that is supposed to be filled with aliens from the series, which in Star Trek Experience case it actually was. Food and drinks with series relevance name, next to an area full of merchandise related to the show, along with a specialty blue drink. One of the biggest criticisms of Galaxy's Edge have been the lack of aliens and droids making the world feel real. The Star Trek Experience, though, was packed full of that. Since closing, nothing around the world has come close to creating such an immersive Star Trek experience. While it had impressive special effects and props, it was the passionate, immersive actors that gave it its heart, that really transported you into the Star Trek world, to visit a place where nobody had gone before. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Extinct. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to join the expedition and let me know in the comments below where you would like to see covered next. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming episodes, and a special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel. Live long and prosper, and we will see you next time.
Incoming subspace signal.
What was the name of Captain Jonathan Archer's dog? Was it A, Horatio, B, Molly, or C, Porthos? The answer is C, Porthos. Captain Archer often fed him cheese.